Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another podcast of AI Geo Navigators. This is me Neha with our valued guest, Ms. Alishba Khan, international expert for sustainable finance. So, welcome, ma'am. Thank you for joining us today. So, how are you?
Thank you, Neha, for having me here, and I'm good. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, please, can you walk us through your journey from being an associated chartered certified accountant to becoming a leading voice in sustainable development?
Yes, Neha, sure I can. Thank you so much for the very relevant question. So, I started my career and my journey as an finance person. So, I landed into the training and developed a strong foundation for the financial reporting, financial risk assessment, and the economic analysis. Then moving further, during the training with the development sector and the private sector organizations, I realized that there is a gap. There is a huge gap between the finances and the actual work that is happening around the humanitarian sector. So gaps are in different terms. For example, in the budgets are not climate inclusive. Budgets are not gender inclusive, and the budgets are one of the example. Apart from the budgets, the framework of the financial and accountancy framework that organizations are using in the private sector and the development sector both, they actually don't support the long-term sustainability goals, and even not at the shorter terms. So there was a gap, and that gap motivated me to do something and to pick up a role where I could contribute to bridge that gap, to create awareness, and to support in my own, whatever I can do, wherever required, whatever I can do, the relevant organizations where I work, the relevant circle where I am in as professional as personal, so that we are able to develop output and all the structure that is inclusive and based on quantitative and qualitative both factors and indicators to come up with a meaningful and logical interpretation and results. So these are the motivations that landed me into a role which is backed with the financial and accountancy knowledge, and work on for the betterment of the humanity in terms of like environmental factor, the economic losses, and of course the financial structure as well. So these are the motivations that encourage me to land into this role.
So, you have an incredibly diverse background across climate finance, carbon markets, and disaster risk reduction. So, let us know how can a financial professional contribute in these themes?
Yes, Neha, I come up with a little diversified background and unique in a sense. So I believe in reimaging the finance, which is a requirement of the time and globally practice as well. As I just shared with you that these now, even the accountancy standards, they have evolved, and we have to work on the sustainability reporting, which is gradually becoming mandatory at different levels. And so we can clearly see the relationship between sustainable goals and the finances. And apart from that, we are aware that budget these days for the humanitarian projects and even for the projects of the private sector, they are becoming climate inclusive and gender inclusive. So environmental factors are included into it and reported as well. So there is, requirement. The financial professionals, they come up with the clear understanding, knowledge, and expertise of the finances, and they can bridge the gap and look forward from where to grab the international finances for the climate change. Thus, they can play a very important and very useful and impactful role as a climate finance specialist or in the domain of the climate finance. If you have to think about moving on from the traditional sources of the climate finances, and if you think about which is the demand of the time, and you have to move on from the traditional sources and think about innovative solutions, so financial professionals, they can work on this innovative tools. Then another talk of the town, that is carbon markets.
Yes.
So carbon markets is something very common these days. Of course, when we talk about the carbon, it's environmental factor, it's environmental issues, and it calculates the carbon emissions. But again, that has to be translated into number, and those number have to be translated into meaningful results and interpretations. So there, the accountants, the financial professionals, they work as carbon accounting experts to bridge to show and to incorporate the role of the finances and the accountancy in the overall activities around the carbon markets and the carbon initiatives. Even if you are working with the at different levels and of the carbon market or carbon accounting, you have to report it, and the reporting comes up with some figure work. So there is how in a simple word and on a surface financial professionals can play a role. Then the other part you discussed is disaster risk reduction. So as you are aware that the frontline communities, the frontline communities, they are the actual people. They are the actual people who get affected by these events, which are the environmental events, the climate events. For example, you have seen, if we all have seen the flood 2022. The people living the rural areas or near the in the areas which were not well developed, or the areas which were more prone to the natural disaster, they got affected. Then even if we see, now we could see the issues. We have just seen the rain, the recent rains, and the damages they have caused. So those damages have economic losses. Those damages have financial losses and the social losses as well. So these things, we would only be able to support and help the frontline communities if we budget their needs, their requirement when designing the project. So there, comes the role of the financial professional, where they can look forward, they can contribute, and to budget those, the humanitarian needs. If they have the ground knowledge, if they see, what's happening around there, and that those indicators could be identified and then budgeted. Apart from that, if we discuss about the economic part, the economic aspect, so most of the losses, the economic losses due to these hazards, of course, economic losses as a figure word. And some projects, all the projects, they could be evaluated based on their economic internal rate of return, how much, benefit they are producing and to the community, and how they are contributing to the national GDP. So that again comes up with the economic losses, again comes up with the bridging of the quantitative and qualitative information into some meaningful results through a process or through a calculation, and which is which then tells you how much the contribution is and who is getting benefited, how that community or that that community or whatever is getting benefited. So that's how the financial professionals, they are playing their role in the climate change, disaster risk reduction through different contributions, whether it's about measurement of the carbon dioxide or the carbon markets. For the carbon markets, not just a measurement or they're translating into the figure work of the GHG emissions, but also different aspects of the project development, as I explained to you earlier. And apart from that, the climate finances, specifically if we have to work on the innovative solutions for the climate risk climate financing and the economic analysis. Apart from that, another important aspect is climate and disaster risk financing and insurance. So climate and disaster risk financing and insurance, it's about how to, uh, it's all about it's all around the risk, the climate risk and the disaster risk, and how to ensure the residual risk. So for that, we to develop a some product that is innovative, that incorporates different types of risk. For example, the loan product, and that also caters the need of different stakeholders of different level and different groups. So for that, of course, that's the figure work. But for the to do that figure work, we need to have very clear, deep understanding and knowledge of the different quantitative factors, which are environmental issues, which are the social factors, which are the economic factors, which are the disaster events. So this is how it has to go through the process, and it is always developed based on the nexus, not individually. So that these are the these are the area, these are the key roles where financial professionals can contribute to the climate change and disaster risk reduction domain.
So I have a question, ma'am. Are we on the track with the investments in the private sector in context of climate adaptation? Where and how investment should be focused?
We are on track and we are not on track when we talk about the investments in the private sector. There is growing awareness of the climate change and sustainability in the private sector now, and it is growing with the passage of the time. But we need to see in the private sector, for the private sector, that where we need to invest and how that could be more meaningful and relatable. For example, every company, for example, if a company is working on technology, technology-based company, and they are, and they are planting trees, so that's a good idea. But if that technology company, they work on installing some instruments or structure that is more energy efficient, that would be a better idea. Planted tree could be a byproduct, okay, sometimes, but it could the main because if we see the energy conservation, that is more relatable. So we have to see the investments have to be more logical, relatable, and support the short and long term goals of the sector. Again, for the for the development sector, development sector, it works more about for the frontline communities. There, for example, if you are because there are a number of projects working, there are a number of projects working in the provinces for restructuring of the houses damaged or washed away by the floods, specifically the floods 2022. So once the houses are rebuilt, there could be an initiative to, and there are actually the initiatives to plant the trees, and that could that is encouraging. That is one house, two trees, one house, three trees. That is more relatable, that there is a house and there is a tree, and that tree is it's contributing to the environment, and it's contributing to that the environment and the project as well. So it makes more logic and sense, because those people, if there are solar panels or some other energy sources, that's fine. But of course, in the rural areas where the houses are there, the house reconstruction is there, those people usually don't have the solar panels, if not part of the project. So there, that could not be energy conservation could not be possible for that small scale and that region and that project. So for that, planting a tree is more reasonable. But when we see, activities for the private sector, it has to be relatable to the sector and the domain, and it should work differently. So this is how private sector investment is doing well, but it needs to be a little aligned. Other than that, private sector is working on adaptation. It needs to focus more on strategies and come up with innovative solutions for mitigation as well. We already have a lot of projects for adaptation, climate adaptation in the private sector. But mitigation, it also requires some focus as it generates the result which is more impactful or equally impactful. So that is how it could be more improved, more aligned, and more impactful and beneficial as well.
So my next question is, are there scalable examples of public-private partnerships for climate adaptation or mitigation?
Yes, Neha, there are examples of PPP model, the public-private partnerships in Pakistan and South Asia as well. We discuss a lot of projects of Pakistan or the PPP model, but I would like to throw some light on the innovative projects that other countries in South Asia they are working on. As I discussed earlier, that solar energy or energy conservation, that's very important, and that is need of the time, keeping in focus the environmental issues, the climate change, the damages that we are facing, not in Pakistan but the global south and globally as well. So India has worked on a project that is India Solar Park Scheme. That's a large project, mitigations through large scale clean energy. So what they are actually doing is they are working on PPP model. The land is by the government, but the investment is by the private sector. So that is how the government is supporting and is working in collaboration with the private sector in terms of the financial investment and the technology investment as well. And coming up, and they came up with a project that is very impactful and creating a lot of, and that is not only benefiting for the energy conservation, but they are also supporting to create the jobs, and is going very well for the improvement in the economy of India. So that project is one of the example. So I will give you another example of affordable resilience housing from Indonesia and Philippines, where the PPP model it worked for providing housing to the low income community, and the model it was around micro insurance, blended finance, and the technical assistance. This project did not only provided them with the resilient housing, but also created jobs for that community and improve the livelihoods and the employment of that specific targeted community, and it's a successful model. So we should in Pakistan also we have number of projects, working on different the same mechanism where we have sometimes insurance and sometimes not, but of course we have technical assistance, government support, and with government support, technical assistance, and the blended finance sometimes we are successfully combating all the environmental issues, the social issues, and improving the climatic condition and the economic conditions of that specific targeted community and the geographical area. But we should, but the Global South, it is also working on it, and we have a lot of successful and examples from the other countries as well.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your valuable answers. So let's move to our next segment, which is rapid fire. So my first question is for one climate solution you would invest $1 million in right now.
The burning issue of the time, carbon markets would be a good investment choice.
Nice. If net zero was a fashion trend, what would it look like?
neutral tones and fine lines with zero waste.
Okay. 3 words that describe carbon markets today.
Okay. Volatile, complex, and growing.
1 myth about climate finance you wish people could stop believing.
It's all about the government.
Okay. So, thank you, ma'am, for joining us today as we ended our podcast here. So, your answers was very productive. Hopefully, हमारी audience को भी काफ़ी कुछ इससे फ़ायदा हासिल हुआ होगा. तो आज के लिए that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was pleasure to be part of your podcast. Thank you.